welcome back to Cousin Central Podcast. We're here with episode 2. Hopefully, you enjoyed episode 1. Um, so we're excited to come back to you guys. Uh, there's a lot to talk about once again. This president has no shortage of topics to give us with discussing. First topic, I'm going to throw it to Lyle. I think he's excited to cover this one.
Hey y'all, I'm Lyle. Welcome back to episode 2. We're calling this a race through time for Cousin Central Podcast because we are racing through a lot of different topics today, a lot of different talking points. I want to mix it up a little bit. So the first topic is critical race theory. So everybody's been talking about this idea of critical race theory. I just want to inform first and foremost what critical race theory is and what it is not. So what Trump wants to do is defund schools to promote critical race theory. The original purpose of the diagnosis of it was the original purpose was the diagnosis of racism. It came from scholars, and it was more of a diagnosis, not a prescription. Right now, it's being a prescription made by normal people of how to go about critical race theory and racism in America. The purpose of it, again, is in law. So they want to look at it through law about how to certain kind of codings of certain kind of neighborhoods, as well as different kind of allegations and law has been pushed past either local, state, or federal government. So they're looking at more of that law based. So there's certain tenets of critical race theory that I want to discuss about. NIH.gov supports this 6 tenets of research. So we talk about normality racism. So no one should be surprised racism is normal and not a normal thing since we live in a country that has a lot of different people in it and a lot of different races. So it's going to be something that you're going to see. And interest convergence. Marginal people only get wins if the powerful people get more wins. So it's about the idea of like, I win, I'll only do this if I win more. If I win more, I'm going to do this, and it makes me look better. So that's what happened with the Jim Crow era. What happened with segregation? It happened also with slavery. They had bad faith, the United States, so they had to change and converge into something different, or had to change their ideology. And then we talk about counter storytelling, the points of sharing counter narratives to challenge dominant ideologies. So everybody has a story, and it's good to tell that story. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that kind of claim. Structural and systemic racism, as we see embedded in laws, public policy, and other structures. As I talked about before, that was the formulation of critical race theory to oversee that. And then we go into the theory of intersectionality, where it talks about personal layered shape of how we experience the world, discrimination. Therefore, we should be aware of identities to be aware of those from discrimination prejudices. So the prejudices happen all the time. Sorry, my mistake for misinterpreting that word. Difficult word to say. Come to it with your own terms. And then probably the most, I think, controversial one is unique voice of color. And that's what I read about on articles as well as the podcasts and videos on this is unique voice of color. It's that collective wisdom is achieved by including and empowering voices that have been traditionally been excluded. So some people think that, okay, everybody has a story to tell, they should tell it. They have more of a leverage to tell it than other people. So this is the 6 tenets of it. This is what it's used for. And I want to disprove some other things as well. So going by definition of race. So definition of race. Race is a social construction of race. Race isn't real, but it's real before, such as the value of a dollar bill. So you think about a dollar bill, it has no value. We give it value. Race, we give it value. So it's what we give. It's what society gives value to, and that's what we consider so important about this idea of critical race theory. And then also there's a different definition by Oxford than I've gotten from more of the terminology that is done by academics. So critical race theory by definition from Oxford is that it's a set of ideas holding that racial bias is inherent in many parts of Western society, especially in its legal and social institutions, on the basis of their having been primarily designed for and implemented by white people. That was the terminology from and definition from Oxford. So that's different than the one I gave you previously, which I more believe the academic side of it and the academics of the people who are Derek Bell, Kimberly Crenshaw, and Richard Delgado, who are the ones from week.org, cited from that source. They're the ones who created critical race theory, and it's more teaching racism in a way that is trying to look at it through the law. It has been really good at documenting it throughout time. And one thing as an educator, what's different about critical race theory and culturally relevant teaching is that culturally relevant teaching is trying to teach stuff that's related to the students that you're in front of. Like if you're in front of kids who have different backgrounds, you're going to include books of different backgrounds, ideas of different backgrounds. That's not teaching critical race theory. That's not teaching that. It's not teaching that, but you should teach the history. So this is where I get come to terms with like Trump in a way. Like what is culturally relevant teaching? What is critical race theory? How is it being it's not synonymous with each other. I think people should know about segregation. I think people should know about slavery. I think people should know about these institutions that were in place that founded the country. So in that terms, Trump is trying to, I guess, not teach all of history, to teach parts of it, and that's the problem I'm having. And also on the other side, a more the liberal perspective, is that you can't view as everybody being racist or being someone who's like because they're a certain kind of color, like you're white or you're a certain kind of color, that you're and identified as racist because you're just white and living in America. So there's been a lot of like argument on both sides, liberals and conservatives, about the critical race theory, and a lot of parents are upset that it's being taught in schools on both sides. So it's not only and just conservative parents, but the liberal parents too, about indoctrinating their kids with ideas. But if you're teaching history, I don't see a problem with it. So what are your thoughts, Ty, on critical race theory and how I described it?
Yeah, I see it as unnecessary to kind of get rid of. I feel like its goal or Trump's goal in this is to only teach like the glorified side of white history, like and trying to hide, I guess, the shame of the slavery era and all of that. Um, yeah, it just I don't know. It doesn't feel like he is. Again, we talked about this last episode, like an inclusive presidency. It just feels like with every move, he is making it more and more exclusive than inclusive. Um, yeah, it just feels like an unnecessary thing to tackle when you look at the broader like picture of what's going on in the country and in the world. It just feels like why is this something you're attacking when it's been something that's been taught forever? I feel like so. Yeah, from my overall feelings, that's unnecessary and just like I guess the word is whitewash history. Like, what's the saying is that the story is always told from the victors, right? So you're always gonna hear how the people who won the war, won the battle, whatever it is, how they were the noble ones and people that lost were the bad guys, right? So I feel like in the same sense, it's like he's trying to say we as white people like we did nothing wrong in the past. Like he's just I feel like he's just trying to, um, yeah, like whitewash history again. So yeah, it just seems unnecessary to me. Um, did you have any more thoughts on that topic?
Not really. I think I agree with you. Like we should teach all of history, but we should. The problem what I have with I think it's more. I think it's not happening really in K to 12 schools. It's more happening in more of colleges and universities. We're seeing more of this, like, okay, this is why you're wrong. This is why this stuff is happening. I I see both sides of like why people are upset. I think just the like I said before, I'm going to go back to the point where I made before. The diagnosis is great. Critical race theory by diagnosis is awesome. Like learning this stuff, but how are we prescribing it? What are we as normal people who have no academic understanding of what this is? How are we interpreting this? And I think that's the problem. Is how people are doing this in their daily lives and how they're interpreting it with other people. And that's where I think people are hitting heads and don't both sides don't understand how to interpret it. There's other ways to combat racism and combat uh, different kind of stereotypes. That's not critical race theory. So I think that's something that should be separate. Another thing that should be separate. Another thing we should talk about is this Luka trade. Is wow, I don't know how this happened. It kind of baffled me. I'm not really following basketball that much, but it caught me off guard too. Everybody's like, "What in the world that happened here?" I mean, tell me about it, Ty. What's going on?
Dude. It hit me out of nowhere. Like, I think I was just sitting here at my desk, and it just all of a sudden I'm like, "What's going on here?" Um, it's strange, right? Because I don't think you ever see sports in general. You don't see a cornerstone franchise player being traded at 25 years old. Um, I'm a big fan of Luca. I saw him as kind of the next face of the league. I know you have like Anthony Edwards and players like that, Victor Wembanyama, but I really saw him as like the LeBron, like the next LeBron of the league, which is ironic because now he's with LeBron. But um, yeah, it was a terrible trade, honestly, from the Mavs standpoint. Um, I honestly don't know what they're thinking. Mark Cuban, the former owner, doesn't know what they were thinking. There's a whole theory out there about them purposely losing money so they can move to Las Vegas. Um, yeah, the theory behind that is that the people that bought the Mavs wanted, I guess, like a casino or like they wanted a casino in Texas near the arena, and it got shot down. So they wanted, obviously they're big on sports betting, so they want to, the theory is that they want to lose, they want to tank their market, so it makes them look good for a move. Um, don't don't know why. I think ever since sports betting became legalized and that's been out there, and we're getting hit with advertisements left and right from sports betting, it's been detrimental to athletes and to the fans. Um, you see athletes dropping like flies due to sports betting. They're getting banned and whatnot from their leagues. But yeah, going back to trade though, I just don't understand it. It's I think it's okay fit for the Lakers. Obviously, you make it work with a 25-year-old superstar, but I feel like him and LeBron, excuse me, him and LeBron play a very similar game. So I don't see how that's gonna translate. Like they're kind of the same player, so two of the same player on the same floor. I don't know how it's gonna translate, but yeah, the deadline in general was crazy. There was a lot of moves. Jimmy Butler going to Golden State. Um, that was the other big one off the top of my head. I can't remember much others, but those were two big ones. Kevin Durant did not want to be moved. He was supposed to be heading back to Golden State by all accounts, but he shot that down. Um, yeah, it was a crazy deadline. I was hoping more from our Nets. I was hoping we'd sell off some of our pieces. Excuse me. I was hoping we'd sell off, like Cam Johnson and Claxton to tank a little bit more. Obviously, being a Duke fan, I'm big on Cooper Flag, so I was hoping to get that first pick and get Cooper Flag because he looks like the next top guy. But yeah, what was your thoughts around the Luka trade and then just the craziness of the deadline in general?
Yeah, Luka Trade was very interesting. Man. I did not see it coming. It was something that caught me off guard. I kind of felt how Kevin Durant went. That image of him when he saw it on the cell phone, like he looked around. I'm like, what's going on here? I don't get this. It doesn't make sense of how you got a superstar like such as Luca moving on to the Los Angeles Lakers. It makes sense for the Lakers. It does make sense. I see the picture. LeBron's about to be out. Luca, you're in. You're the guy now. You're running it. You're running the big team. I'm LA. You're going to be leading the NBA. You're Patrick Mahomes at the NBA. Lead us. Do our thing. You know, you got the all. You're going to get all the sponsorships and all that stuff. You're going to keep the ratings up. The one thing I think that's holding Luca back, which a player that you liked how that held him back too because of his health was T Mac is being conditioned. Your money is your body in sports, and you should prioritize your body. This guy has all the skills, all the intelligence in the world. Luka has it all. He has it all. He has all the goods. One thing he doesn't have is discipline. discipline for his body. So hopefully being with LeBron saying you got to invest in your body. So your body's your money, man. Your body's your money. You don't work on your money's going to probably start to dwindle away. So I think that's like one thing I noticed with the whole trade thing too. They were mentioning about his weight was becoming an issue because he's 260. He's pushing weight. I'm not saying he's like overweight or anything like that, but he's definitely it's a little struggle. It's a little struggle with him sometimes to do some certain things. So he just needs to be down. He doesn't need to be jacked or stuff like that. Some of the players he doesn't need that. He just needs to be in good weight where he can move and not have injury concerns because the more weight you have, more injuries you have. So that's the thing I had about that trade, which pulls us into another topic around sports, just to touch briefly, is a Lamar Jackson, so I'm in Baltimore, and Josh Allen MVP discussion about how Lamar got snubbed off of this MVP, but he won an MVP last year that people think he should have won. So maybe it's karma. Maybe that's what it is. It's karma. But then again, we gotta look at the Bills roster, y'all. They got nobody. They have nobody who made the Pro Bowl off that roster in the offensive side. What does Lamar have? He has Derrick Henry. He has Zay Flowers. He has a few people that made the Pro Bowl off that roster. So I think that to me like is the reason why Josh Allen won it. Maybe you can't always look at stats. Stats can't tell the whole story. I think always production. So how do you feel about that MVP overall in the NFL come through?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Lamar was snubbed. I think it was overall voter fatigue. I think you see that across sports. You see in basketball. I mean, LeBron should have more MVPs than he had. Kobe should have had more MVPs than he had. But I think voters get tired of voting for the same player. Even in baseball, I feel like people always try to make a case against Aaron Judge, and it's like he's the clear cut MVP, but people get tired of it. Um, when you look, yeah, I mean, when you look at when you look at Allen's numbers, he was much more comparable to Aaron Rodgers than he was Lamar Jackson, and that's crazy to me because I don't think we've seen the type of numbers Lamar put up this past season and not win MVP. Those are insane numbers. I think the only thing Allen hadn't beaten is record and rushing touchdowns. That was it. And it's like that's what gives you the edge over MVP is one game better and a handful more of rushing touchdowns. One thing I will give in Allen's corner is that he was ahead a lot in games. So in fourth quarters, obviously he wasn't putting up garbage time numbers or anything like that. So that could be something to talk about. But yeah, I think the overall feeling amongst NFL fans is that Lamar was snubbed, and the only people that seem to agree with it is a select few of Bills fans and outside of Bills fans as well, select few people. Um, yeah, I don't know. Did you feel like Lamar should have won, or it sounds like you almost made a case for Allen there?
I think I make case for both. Lamar's numbers are great. What he did was very. I don't think it would have factored in. He probably would have maybe had a few more or less touchdowns if Derrick Henry wasn't there. But you definitely do need a supporting cast. You definitely do need people that help you become better. And he really excelled with that. The team did really well. It was one of the best rushing teams this year next to Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. Like them two are like the top two rushing teams. And I don't know. Yeah, I think to me, Lamar deserved it more this year than he did last year. I mean, that's what I've seen. Because I think I'm not a big fan of Dak Prescott. I'm not. I'm really not. But last year he deserved the MVP. He did. By his numbers, he deserved to be MVP. He beat him in every category. I'm like, why? You're winning in most categories at the rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. It's the only way. He's beating him in pass TDs, passing yards, completion, all this other stuff. But yeah, it was weird. Last year was like a gimme for Lamar. Was like that was a scratcher in the head when I saw the stats. I'm like, there was at least 3, 4 quarterbacks that was better than him last year. And Christian McCaffrey, the running back, had an amazing year last year at like 20 touchdowns or like 20 touchdowns. It's never heard. It's unheard of for players like that. Like he should have won it over Lamar last year. So like you said, voter fatigue about Lamar Jackson and stuff like that. Could have made a case for Von Barkley this year. Really couldn't make it for him too. To me, I think he
Yeah.
was the MVP this year,
Yeah,
personally.
that's a that's a funny name you bring up because I was gonna bring it up myself. Um, was Barkley? You could have made a strong case for Barkley being MVP. Because when you look at the Eagles, I think he is the most valuable player on the Eagles. He took that offense and just transcended it. Yeah, I don't think Hurts is that great of a quarterback. Um, he's maybe top 15 in the league right now, but that's not saying much for the state of the quarterback position in 2025. Um, but yeah, he's not standing in the pocket and lighting the world on fire. The thing that changed that offense was Barkley, which I feel bad for my Giants fans out there. They're going through it between Barkley being in the Super Bowl and Eli not making the Hall of Fame. So tough week for them. But as Jet fans, we feel that pain 24/7, 365. It's a nonstop misery.
You
So
know who
yeah,
else is gonna feel some pain? You know who else is gonna feel some pain going up a few couple months? These tariffs, Mexico, Canada. That's who else can feel some pain. So good segue.
yeah. I That's the thing is like where's the pain gonna come from with that, right? Because I think when Trump introduced these tariffs, he hasn't explained who is actually going to hurt by this, right? Because if these countries like Canada, Mexico, China are not going to adhere to his tariffs, then are we still going to be hurting in our everyday lives, with grocery prices and all that stuff? So it's like, are these tariffs going to work? Which he did introduce them. I think it was this past Tuesday or something. It was the third. Um, and at this point, Mexico and Canada has kind of adhered to him in a way, which I kind of didn't see coming. I didn't see them folding so quickly. So I think also when it comes to tariffs, a lot of people are confused about what they are and what they do. So I did grab a definition here for people. So it's a tax placed on imported goods or services by the government. It's also used to protect domestic industries from foreign competition by making these goods more expensive. So it encourages people to buy locally. So basically, what he wants to do is take all of these goods that are being made in China, Canada, and Mexico and put an extra tax on them for those countries to sell in America, in hopes that they start building factories in America and create American jobs and create, a better economy. So yeah, like I said, the three countries he wants to impose these on is Canada, Mexico, and China. Again, you can find all this information on the White House webpage. So yeah, as of the third, Mexico paused the tariffs. They agreed to his terms of 10,000 Mexican soldiers at the border, again fighting illegal immigration and at the border. And then Canada also paused on the same day in return of $1.3 billion in the border plan. So that was straight from Justin Trudeau's X account. Um, and part of that plan was he appointed a fentanyl czar. He reinforced the border with choppers, tech, and personnel. He's also sending 10,000 personnel to the border. Um, Part of that agreement is that he lists cartels as terrorists. And I guess the whole point of this is to launch a Canada US joint strike force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. Um, yeah, so it seems like they want to actually work together in fighting this. I don't know if they want to or they feel forced to at this point, based on what Trump is doing. So far, the only country that not has not adhered is China, which is 10%. He wants to put a 10% tariff on them, and we're starting to see that now. I think I saw USPS and other delivery services are pausing orders from like Shein and Temu that have historically come from China and whatnot. Um, yeah, so it was supposed to take effect on the 4th, but I guess right at the deadline, those two countries folded. Um, yeah. So what do you think about the tariffs? Do you feel like they were gonna help us in any way? And how do you feel about the countries like folding so quickly to Trump?
Yeah, so the twofold question, good question, Sal, as always. So the first fold question is how I feel about the tariffs. Being a history major, we all know what tariffs are, what tariffs started. They started a trade war. Don't understand, there was a trade war happening with the United States as well as Britain. That's what started this whole thing about the American Revolution, and yet you had the War of 1812, this from tariffs. That's what it was from. And that
Don't
was
forget
before
the
they really
don't forget the Boston Tea Party.
the Boston Tea Party. Oh yeah, the Boston Tea Party, the Boston Massacre. There's a lot of things happened in Boston at the time. So yeah, all those different moments of time that we recall from history class back in. For me, I teach in the fourth grade, so I think I learned it part later than that. And yeah, those the way they got extra money. So extra revenue was coming from that. They didn't really tax people high. People weren't taxed that high. I know Benjamin Franklin, I believe he coined the term, you live, you die, you pay taxes. That's the way of life everywhere. So I think what Trump wants to do with these tariffs and what his plan is, it goes into our next thing we're going to talk about. I'm going to go jump ahead with it. Is the whole tax plan he's doing. So I think the tariffs he's trying to subsidize the money he's losing, probably going to lose from federal income tax into that. So maybe that's like double-edged sword kind of thing. We're doing this to help you out, but then again, goods are going to be more expensive now. Do we know all produce is mostly out of the country? It comes from not from local farmers, and local farmers have not been getting any kind of incentive to like grow and do stuff. They're not doing that well. They're doing okay. So I know we're trying to incentivize people in the locally in the country, but we're also at what cost? At what price are we doing? So I don't already have the numbers in front of me about how much produce, how much meat, how much like resources is being imported into the country currently at this point. But using tariffs in a way to make more money is going to cost the American people more money. And can you run me the second question, Tyler? You were saying? I think your mic is still off.
Oh yeah, it was. I was like, what is it? Oh yeah, how do you feel about like the countries folding so quickly to Trump?
Oh, yes, good question. So I more lean towards the understanding that I think Trump did this as a power play. I don't think he was actually going to go through with it. I think you kind of see what Canada and Mexico are doing. This is what he wanted all along. He's like, he's testing his power. So I think one thing we should know about this Trump presidency going into a few weeks in is approval rating is very low. Let's be honest, is 47%. It's one of the lowest in the last 15 presidents. Going into 2 weeks. It's like 13th on the list. He's very low. He's lower than he's basically about the same rate he was 4 year his last term. So his approval rating's low, considering a new president. Biden was like 60%, 67%. And at this point in his term, in the first 2 weeks, he has a low approval rating, and now he's scrambling. I think this is like a power play for him. I think this has to do with the power play of who could bend to his will and what he wants. And I feel like Canada and Mexico did just that. He wanted border control, he got it now. So I feel like that's what his goal was at this point.
Yeah, it feels like he's as we briefly discussed, before the episode, I feel like he's throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. It just seems like he is just throwing everything out there without knowing even the proper um, steps of how to make these plans go through. A lot of these things he wants to do will take voting, but he's trying to do like executive orders around them and stuff. It's a lot of things he's saying and signing is not actually going to go through. It just feels like like I said, he's just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. I think the word you use is like he's just overwhelming people, right? Like how did you describe it?
Yeah, he's trying to overwhelm us with so many different. orders and so many different kind of ways to get his message out there. He's trying to make us believe he has the power. He has the power of a king. He wants us to believe in him. I had this or listen to the video. I'm like, it's true. He's trying to he's not trying to he's not trying to govern this country like a president. He's trying to govern like a monarchy, like a king who says, "This is what I want. This is going to happen. You're going to have to do it regardless." And if we don't believe him, it won't happen. Like, and most people don't believe him. You see a pause on these spending bills and these like cuts. Judges everywhere, even a Reagan judge cut stopped a bill. I can't remember exactly what it was. A Reagan appointed judge, a Republican judge, stopped one of his bills. Says no, this can't happen. And no, that was the Constitution. It was the amendment we talked about last time that you being born in the country, you're a legal citizen. He's like, no, you can't do this. This is against the Constitution. You can't. And this is a Reagan judge, appointed judge. So we're seeing a trend that people are going to step in there that are if it's unlawful and it's not by the Constitution or by the foundation of this country that it won't happen.
Right. Yeah. And again, we'll go into tariffs. You did say it is kind of connecting to his plan with the IRS. Um, I think there's some good elements in that, but I'm wondering if because these countries folded to the tariffs, is he not going to go through with his plan with the IRS? Which part, his plan was to abolish income tax and kind of transition the IRS to become the ERS, which is the External Revenue Service, to kind of oversee the tariffs and that process. Again, it would have had been voted in Congress, um, but I feel like in eliminating income tax, it would have been very beneficial to Americans, and getting that money from an outside source instead of your everyday working Americans was something that was kind of attractive to me. If it would have worked, if it made sense, of course. Um, yeah, I mean, how did you feel about his plan for the IRS, and do you feel like it's still gonna happen now that these countries have indeed folded?
Yeah, I think this is another like twofold part is that if one domino falls, the other falls. If one domino falls, doesn't fall, the dominoes will stay there. Right now, the dominoes are kind of in osmosis. They don't know what's going to happen. And I think the whole abolishment of the IRS, it is a federal agency, so it has to be voted on by Congress. Again, another thing that has to be voted on by Congress. But he could dismantle parts of it into other resources. So he could do the Internal Revenue Service. He could propose that. But I think the idea of getting rid of income tax, federal income tax, is beneficial to everyday Americans. I think it's like a two-headed sword where I talked about before. If you have one thing works, another thing doesn't. And income tax does bring a lot of revenue into the government, and it does fund a lot of the social programs that we've seen, such as Social Security, such as well, Social Security is a separate thing, so that's a separate entity as well. But it does support local and federal governments like agencies to run. That's what he wants the tariffs to help replace. I think what I like is the Fair Tax Act. It's by Republican Congressman Carter, and he kind of proposed this to make it more fair for people. That it will be eliminating kind of the idea of a charge on tax and the different kind of tax rates to make it more reasonable for people to with the wealth inequity that's happening. So I am supportive of something happening. Taxes do need to get changed, so I do support Trump's goal in like trying to make some type of change for people because people are struggling. People are having a tough time making ends meet and then having to pay taxes, having to do other kind of avenues of getting money because people are working like two, three jobs to survive, just to have a family afford, just to live in a house or just to buy a house and all these other kind of inequities that have been happening. So I do support there needs to be a change. So I do appreciate Trump is doing something about it. I don't know if it's the right thing or the wrong thing because I'm not an economist, so I'm not so sure to speak on what the ramifications would be personally. But it would be nice to be having extra money in your pocket. So, because I know some states like Florida, Texas do not have state income tax, so you have extra money coming in there. So I don't know what they do to support their state governments and what they do to make sure everybody, the state employees and the agencies there that get their funding, whatever they do. Well, maybe we could lean towards those states that don't have the state income tax. So I don't know. That's a thought as well.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe they provide the blueprint of how you handle that. Um, but yeah, it just seems like with a lot of his stances and stuff, he's trying to eliminate a lot of jobs. Like I feel like he's attacking OSHA, he's attacking IRS, he's attacking federal employees that he wants them to go back to the office. Like that's going to eliminate a good amount of people. Um, Parts of the FBI. It just seems like he's just attacking certain things. Which leads me to the next, kind of group he's attacking, which is the USAID. Um, so I feel like this has been a hot topic within the past week or so. A lot of people didn't even know where it came from, what it did. So when it was first brought up, it was established in the early '60s to administer humanitarian aid programs on behalf of the U.S. government around the world. So they provided services such as food in starving countries, famine detection systems, clean water, polio vaccines, prosthetic limbs, Ebola contamination, and others. Um, he believes it does not represent value for the American people. Man, in a way, he's right? Because I think we've seen as this has kind of unfolded more that the money that was supposed to be going to starving countries, clean water, all this stuff hasn't been. So I agree with the overall sentiment of USAID and what it should be doing, but I also agree with him eliminating it if it's not doing what it should be doing. If it instead is paying people, one of the rumors was it was paying actors like Ben Stiller and musician, I think it was Kenny Chesney or Jason Aldean, one of the country singers. I could be totally wrong. To go over into Ukraine and take pictures with Zelensky, their president over there, for $4 million. I think the photo op was for, or if it's giving money to Chelsea Clinton, which is another rumor. Um, if this money is not going where it should be and instead is lining celebrities and politicians' pockets, I'm all for getting rid of that, right? I I think you've seen the outrage from politicians once again from the Democratic side because maybe they are in fear that their pockets will no longer be lined by that program. Again, this is something that will be passed in Congress. It seems to be a popular thing that would be supported. It seems like it would be passed. Uh, yeah, so it is part of the freeze that we talked about in the last episode. So if you remember, we were talking about how people worried that their like SNAP benefits and Medicare, Medicaid was getting freezed. Well, this is one of the programs that was frozen in that. Um, how do you feel about the program going away, specifically if it isn't going to the right places?
Yeah, I feel like you have to definitely do checks and balances. It should be always an advisory kind of program where people are part of it. It's like, oh, here's $1 million. Go out there, sell some CDs, sell some T-shirts. Disney T-shirts, give them T-shirts. It doesn't make sense where you're not regulating where the money's going, and I think there has to be more regulation done within these government establishments where they get so much money. I mean, I think that's very true, but we never question the CIA money. We never question it. We never question what's going on at Pentagon, and we know they get trillions of dollars a year, but we never know what they're using it for. So
Well,
let's just think about that.
half the time
Let's
that
think about that a
money
little bit. But
half the time that money goes missing in the Pentagon, right?
Yeah, it does. Missing. Oh, what do? You drop your briefcase off at Penn Station and someone took it? Is that what happened? Is this like a movie? Is this a Netflix movie? Okay. Is that how you lost? Is that how you really lost your job? Um, yeah. So it's very interesting of like what he is going after and who he's going after and what exactly is happening. Is this? Yeah, there's 10,000 workers that are gonna potentially lose their jobs. There are some people that are I don't know what they're doing with the money and what's going on with the money. That's like questionable. I'm sure there is a good amount of people, like majority of probably the 10,000 people are doing jobs or doing things that really help out people. So I can't say that we should just gut out, gut out the virus or gut out the cancer for the sake of a few bad apples in the bunch or whatever's happening in that bunch. So it's kind of hard to not know exactly what's happening here because with 10,000 people's jobs on the line internationally as well as here, I think there was also a point made, I believe, that if we help out, I know America first, if we help out the rest of the world, supposedly a lot of the funding does not go in foreign aid. That has been researched, so I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that. We don't have the little fact checker about how much money actually goes into foreign aid for people. If more countries were more financially stable and financially ready, that they would be not wanting to come to the United States. If the country was where they're currently at, what's the point of going to the United States if my country's good? You don't see anybody from Spain coming to the United States. You don't see anybody from Spain coming to the United States. Why do they want to come to the United States? Spain's great. It's awesome. A lot of opportunity there. They don't come. Most of Europe countries don't move to the United States. Some Asian countries, Japan, they don't move to the United States. It's the only certain countries that do. So that kind of benefit, if we could have like some agencies that were checked and balanced about what's happening, and that okay, what can we do to help people out effectively and efficiently, what this program was actually for, then we might be able to solve some kind of issues we're having, as well as with illegal immigration, as well as other types of barriers that we're seeing currently.
Right.
So that's kind of like my take on that.
Yeah. Real quick, I just want to send an apology to people. My headset started dying, so you probably heard a couple beeps and whatnot. But yeah, it does seem like he is pushing like America first with all these moves. It just feels like every move he's making is trying to make America as profitable as can be, um, by cutting jobs, by trying to bring factories to America, by cutting taxes, stuff like that. Um, yeah, some of it is head scratching. Some of it I agree with. Once again, we are moderates. We are in the middle, so we are going to agree with stuff, and we're going to disagree with stuff. Um, One thing people have been disagreeing with, on Twitter specifically, or X now, is the winner of the Royal Rumble. Um, Crazy, right? Look at that transition. So, man, where do I start with this? I guess what's going on X is not what's happening in real life, right? So, and this goes for anything in life, right? So don't let social media ruin your joy. Let it rule your world and whatnot, because what's said on there is not gospel. Um, People were outraged that Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble. For me, it was give or take. Like, obviously, I wanted Cena, but I felt like after thinking about it, listening to people talk about it, I became more willing to accept a longer story. Really play up his struggle, the fact that he hasn't won a singles match since like 2019 or something, whatever it is. Play up that story, and we get it at SummerSlam or something, which is in New Jersey, so maybe we'll go to. Um, yeah, so I feel like Jey Uso is massively over with the crowd right now. You see it every week with his entrances. The crowd is going insane. They ran it back last week. He asked for his music to be hit again, and they hit it again, and people are going nuts. He's probably the most over star since Daniel Bryan, probably with the Yes movement and whatnot. And then Kofi with WrestleMania 35, that was another person that was very over. Just like a guy that's constantly in the mid card, finally getting the main event shot. And you like them. They're good performers. They have the charisma, the entrance. They have the whole package, right? Um, How'd you feel about Jey Uso winning? I feel like most of us didn't expect it, but were you at least like happy with it?
Tom, I'm a big Cena fan. I'm a Cena man. I like Cena. He's my dude. He's always been my guy. Always excited to watch him out. So I was upset. I was bummed. I was bummed a little bit. But then after the bumming phase faded out, I was happy for Jay. I was happy Jay had his opportunity to have his moment, have a spotlight. He's always shined under his cousin Roman. He's like always under him. Like that's like my big brother, and I always like the little brother, and never get a moment to shine for me. So it was a great moment to see him win and see the crowd react and see Michael Cole not go with the beat at all of his song with the hands up and Pat McAfee making fun of him for it. Come on, Michael, you gotta go with the beat. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm trying. So yeah, that was hilarious. And it was just fun. It was a good night, really good night of wrestling, really good matches, really good something. Cody, not Kofi, Cody, Cody Rhodes had a really awesome freaking match. It was reminding me of the Attitude Era kind of match. It was great. Him and KO, Kevin Owens, really put everything on the line. They did it all. It was an awesome match. It was great. It was a great build up, great ending, amazing. I really like a 5 star. If you could have a 5 star match, that's a 5 star match right there. And the tag team match is pretty damn good too. So and the women's wrestling was great until Charlotte Flair won it. Uh, until she won it, it was a great Royal Rumble until she won it. It was great until that point. Like when we knew she came out, me and Ty and our other cousins, we were like, yeah, she's probably gonna win it. She's coming back, she's winning. She's Charlotte Flair. She has a name. She's gonna win it based on name at this point. So yeah, it was sad to see because Roxanne, like, she was a workhorse. She did amazing during that match. It was great to watch her do her thing. I never watched NXT, but I heard of her. I know who she is. She's been there for a while. She's kind of like the idea of like not Kofi because Kofi's been in the industry for well over 15 years. So he worked his way to this point. It was not like given to him at all. And so yeah, so overall it was a great night. Happy for the people that won, most of them. And yeah, it was awesome see wrestling evolve into something that it is now, you know?
Yeah, it's nuts. I feel like it was taking over. It was coming back. But then with the Netflix era starting, it's like really taking over. Like I feel like the fact that it's on Netflix and now it could be viewed globally. And with the ease of Netflix, I feel like more people have Netflix subscriptions than cable at this point. So it's more accessible. I feel like it's constantly in the top two or three of most watched TV shows on Netflix. So I feel like it's really coming back, and that type of night with those type of matches is definitely going to help. They definitely portray their characters as superstars that people can be attracted to, right? Like you're looking at the entrances, you look at the people in the crowd, and you're like, damn, this person's like a superhero, right? Um, Say we've been wrestling fans for basically all of our lives. You could save us the fake talk if you want to do that, go down that road. My favorite response is always, "What's your favorite movie or TV show?" Also fake. Um, just know what they're doing is dangerous and requires a tremendous amount of athleticism and timing and precision and keeping your opponent in the ring safe. It's definitely an art form. Um, yeah, but it was a great night. That ladder match to me stood out because I feel like ladder matches have kind of been tarnished within the past 10 years or so. Probably, probably going back all the way to the TLC days, right? With the Hardys, the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, that type of stuff. Um, the best way I could put it is I heard another podcaster I watched say that the ladder was used to tell the story more than a weapon, right? So you saw them struggling with the ladder. You saw them take off the leg of a ladder, which you never seen before, and beat themselves over with it. Um, you saw the fisherman suplex from KO, putting Cody through the ladder. You saw the Alabama Slam with Cody putting KO through the ladder. Like the ladder told the story, and they had the perfect amount of like violence and brutality in between that, right? It wasn't overused. The ladder itself was not overused. It was used when it should be used. Um, and it was definitely the best ladder match again that I've seen within the last 10, 15 years. So I'm excited to see where all these stories go, heading into not just WrestleMania but Elimination Chamber. As that unfolds, we'll cover it more as it comes closer and whatnot. But yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about as far as like media and stuff like that? I know I have one music recommendation this week, but other than that, I haven't really had the time to sit down and watch any TV shows or movies this week. But have you been watching anything other than Severance or any movies or any music you're excited about?
I give a few suggestions, That I don't mind giving a few suggestions to our audience and grab. So a couple of suggestions I had. It's out right now on Prime. It's out on Paramount Plus, I believe, if not mistaken. Gladiator 2. Watch it. If you watch the first one, you like the second one even more. It's a continuation. And the Washington's awesome in it. The actors in it are great. It's a great storyline. It tells the continuation of Gladiator. The first one, you like the first one, you like the second one. So I say watch that. 2 thumbs all the way up. Lau approved this message. And I would say Severance, yeah, the new episode's out. Great episode. Very dystopia. They're keeping the dystopia thing going. Very interesting episode. Go watch it. And I think a music recommendation for me, 100%, is Kendrick Lamar's album. Until when he swept the Grammys, I'm like, why is this man sweeping the Grammys? I'm like, I listened to his album. I'm like, that's why Kendrick is sweeping the Grammys. This album is awesome. Great album. G and X, is that correct? Or did I do the letters wrong?
No, you got it right.
G and X, a great album from beginning to end. It tells a story. Amazing. Like really well done, really awesome. Something that everyone's gonna like in it. I mean, if you like hip hop, really like that vibe. You're gonna really like that album. That album is solid, really
Yeah,
solid.
yeah. It's interesting,
Beyonce
right?
winning Country Album of the Year is weird, but that's my little comment about media. Beyonce winning Country Album of the Year and Album of the Year for that album. I'm like, what the hell?
Right.
That's besides Lamar Jackson. What's it called? And we talk about the Luka trade. That was the third thing in the media. I'm like, what the hell is going on? She
Yeah.
was surprised. I mean, we all were surprised. So
Yeah, I feel like the Grammys this year was a show. Like obviously it's a show, but it was a show, right? Like you have Jay Z on stage last year complaining about how Beyonce's never won like an album of the year or whatever, and then it all of a sudden happens for, by all accounts, a trash country album, right? So it's like, how does that happen? Um, it's funny because yeah, obviously, yep. Um, I could make a whole nother video on the Grammys and the people that were there and the reason why Kendrick won and stuff like that. I'm on the opposite spectrum of Kendrick when it comes to the beef between him and Drake. I'm a huge Drake fan, and that was guys. That's funny because that was gonna be my music suggestion. Was on Valentine's Day, Drake and another one of my favorites, Party Next Door, is making a collab album that'll be coming out on Valentine's Day, which is funny because I saw it coming. They're it's gonna be an R&B album, and there's no better day for an R&B album to drop than Valentine's Day, right? So but yeah, that's a whole another topic that in itself could be a whole video, and people have made hour and a half long videos about that beef in general. So I won't beat a dead horse when it comes to that. Um, yeah, so I think another fun topic we can do is to recommend like some of our favorite recipes. Um, I'm always for that, right? I'm always looking for recipes. Like I saw one recently that was what is it? Uh, damn, French dip sandwiches, right? In this slow cooker. I want to try that one so bad. I've been sending it to my fiance Haiti like nonstop. I'm like, damn, I really want to try this. But another thing that I've actually tried that is my favorite recipe is we did a slow cooker pulled pork just last week actually, and yeah, so yeah, it's just basically like I could try to link it. We kind of tweaked a couple different recipes ourselves, um, and made it our own. Like we do a dry rub, and then we usually like to let it sit overnight in like barbecue sauce and whatnot. Let it really marinate. It's a lot. You cut it. We try to put cloves of garlic in there, so it's a lot of garlic as well. But it surprisingly doesn't come out garlicky. And then yeah, we let that son of a gun sit there for like 8 hours on low and slow, baby. Just let it go. Um, and it's perfect for like cold days and stuff. It just you leave your warm room and you smell that food and it's just perfect on a cold day. But yeah, so we like to make sandwiches out of that. What about you? What's some of your favorite recipes, like, especially on a cold day like today?
Oh, actually, me and my girlfriend Erica, shout out Erica again, second time. I'm shouting you out as we gonna shout out people. We're gonna be making acorn squash soup. So I'm looking forward to that. I had it before. Someone made it at our holiday party, and I really liked it. I'm gonna do it today. I'm gonna make it like I'm currently on an elimination diet, so my diet is very different than what most people are going through at this point. So I has only whole foods that I have. I can't really have other kind of foods. And if you want to know what elimination diet is, you have to look it up on Google and like oh some research pop up. So to get my gut back and healthy again. So yeah, we're making that. I'm gonna have some chicken with it, some honey glazed chicken. It's one of my favorites to make that. So and that was some like salad. But I'm looking forward to the squash soup. It's very creamy, very juicy, very flavorful. It's a great thing to have on a cold night, cold day. I like soup personally. It's a puree, more of a puree than a soup, but it's a soup anyway. Beautiful, beautiful mix. It tastes like winter. Tastes like winter time. You gotta like it. It's winter time.
Yeah, I'm a
So
big
yeah, I really
soup
enjoy
fan.
that.
Haiti always gives me shit for it, but I'm a big soup fan. Like every time we go to a diner, I have to at least get like a small cup of chicken noodle soup. Every time I'm at a Chinese place, I always get some wonton soup. Yeah, I'm a big soup fan.
Yeah, you can't dip on the soup. You can't dip on the soup. Yeah, you gotta like the soup.
Yeah, she
You
she
know, or
thinks it
otherwise the
doesn't
soup
really
has to
do
become.
much. Like she thinks there's not much to it. Like what does it do for you? But just warms the soul. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, we need warm the soul from now on. That's why we live. We gotta warm our soul up, warm our tummies up, warm our brains up, warm our connections up. Yeah, that's why we live life. That's why we live life.
Yeah, I think it's it for us today, right? Like you don't have anything else you want to talk about today?
Yeah, not really. We're trying to go into, like we said before, different topics about, even issues that we might talk about because we're both men. We might talk about issues that revolve around men in life, and we're still talking about like issues of politics, around the media, around sports, around different ideas. So I'm very interested in a lot of different topics. Like Tyler is, we're both interested. So we look forward to bringing more topics to you throughout the next episodes as we go on this adventure together
Yeah,
of
I
podcasting through our lives.
yeah I think we're gonna try to make it weekly. At this point, he keeps on giving us stuff to talk about. Trump, that is. Um, I think a topic we could cover more in depth next time is OSHA. It seems like he wants to abolish OSHA now too, so look forward to that one. Real quick, you just remind me of something when you said, like tackling topics as men. Um, a part. So going back to wrestling real quick, a part of LA Knight's promo last night, he just went off script. It seemed like, and he said like to the boys and men out there in the world, just know it's okay to cry. That doesn't make you any less of a man. In fact, that makes you more of a man because you're showing emotions, something along those lines, right? And I feel like that's very important. I feel like that's a popular sentiment amongst our generation, but not maybe the generation older than us and two gaps older than us and whatnot. Um, I think that was a really good message to display on national TV. Um, because I do feel like for a long time there was a sentiment out there that if you cried as a man, um, that you were seen less than, right? And I think the more we grow and the more we learn, it's actually more healthy for you to express those type of emotions. And I think everyone should be deserving of a good cry. Like it's undoubtedly makes you feel better afterwards. Yeah, so I felt like that was interesting, and I'm glad you brought that up because it just reminded me of that. If you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I think it's okay to show your feelings, show your emotions, be generally you, because we're not robots, people. We are not our screens. We are not our things. We are who we are. And it's best to express yourself the way you can to the people you love, especially that's closest to you. And, I had a problem to say, like, I love you, Tyler. I have no problem saying that. It's good to say, good to just say your appreciation towards someone, how much you appreciate them, and heavy feel feelings. Okay, that's something I struggle with, and it's very hard for us to do because we want to be distracted all the time. Feel your feelings, cry, feel it, be angry, listen to a song, really understand it. So I definitely echo everything you're saying, Ty. You're muted again.
Jesus. Yeah, I love you too, bro. I think, and I hope that it comes across that we are cousins, and this is the Cousin Central podcast, but we are more like brothers. Our story runs deep, right? Like we spent a lot of time together growing up, more than what cousins usually would, right? So we're talking full summers together and whatnot, best of times.
Hmm.
But yeah, that does it for us here today. We'll see you in episode 3. Once again, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Leave a comment of what you thought about this episode if you want to add any discussion there, and also what you would like to see us talk about. And then once again, I'm still thinking about doing a giveaway at 100 subscribers. We're slowly climbing. Yeah, so we had a good time here. Hope you guys did too. And we'll see you in the next episode.